Okay, hello everyone. How are you guys doing? Welcome to another episode of the Influential Creatrix with me, Rita Egidio, and Barbara Walsh. How do you pronounce correct? Okay,
That's correct.
I'm always scared to pronounce wrong. And this is so, Barbara, do you want to tell us who you are, what you do, and where you're from?
Sure. I'm actually a board certified master health and wellness coach, and I actually became a health coach after I overcame breast cancer naturally with the power of nutrition and prayer. And today I help women overcome the fear of breast cancer and lower their risk of diagnosis and recurrence with evidence based nutrition strategies and faith. And I'm actually located in the US, in the Northeast, in New Jersey.
Wow. Okay, you put a lot of cards on the table already. I let me see where I'm going to start so we have like a little nice conversation. I would normally ask what is your why. I think your why is very obvious, but can you please give us a little look into what was to find out when you had cancer and what is the mindset behind doing things like that? It's really, for me, super interesting, and I have a lot of questions.
Okay, sure, no problem. Well, when I found out that I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I had actually gone for a routine checkup, a routine mammogram, and it had never really occurred to me that anything would happen other than I would go in and then I would go home. That's what I thought was going to happen. And that's when they told me they saw something suspicious. They sent me for a biopsy,
Mhm.
and the biopsy came back that I was positive for breast cancer. And I had DCIS, which is a stage zero precancer, and I also had stage one lobular invasive estrogen positive breast cancer. And
Okay.
so it's the scariest thing that you will ever hear. And I went to the oncologist because that was the recommendation, was to go right away to the oncologist, and they wanted surgery. Right after the surgery, they wanted me to go and sign up for chemo. I probably had to do, I think they told me 6 or 8 rounds of chemo, so it would be one round a month, and then probably close to a year of radiation. On top of that, they wanted me to take tamoxifen, which is an estrogen blocking drug, because I had an estrogen positive cancer, meaning that high estrogen levels contributed to it, and it was important to keep the estrogen levels down so that, in theory, it wouldn't continue to get worse. So, as I listened to all of this, my husband was there, thank God, because I couldn't really barely process what they were telling me. But I had a lot of reservations about the treatment protocol. And the reason why was kind of twofold. The first was that my father actually had colon cancer, and he passed away when I was 13. And so I had seen him undergo all the same treatments, this, and we're talking years ago, the same exact treatments, and he didn't really ever get better. He just continued to get worse until eventually he died. And that was very traumatic growing up as a kid. And at the time
No,
that
I had the same. So
it's horrible, right? It's the worst thing you
same with
ever.
my mom. She died with malaria, but it's the way I was 10, you were 13. It's a terrible thing. Then it really scars us for life.
Yeah.
And another way, if you are like me and probably like you, we always find the silver line in everything. For me, my silver line is I lost all when I was so little. Then enjoying life and the little things of life became my drive. Like I enjoy the little things in life. So I don't want to take you away from the conversation because I'm enjoying, but we can talk about this in the next question.
Sure.
So you had that mindset, you saw him going through all of that and nothing positive did happen.
Correct. And at the time when I was diagnosed, I have a son. My son was 14. And so it was like a really weird parallel, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want my kid to see the stuff I saw. That's all I kept thinking. So I couldn't agree to the treatments, and my husband asked the doctor, so if my wife does these treatments, will she be cured? And the doctor said, well, there are no guarantees, but we'll consider it to be a success if there's no recurrence of cancer within 5 years of treatment. So to me personally, that was kind of a non-committed answer because she couldn't tell me that it was actually going to work, and she just couldn't give me any guarantee. And I get it. There's no guarantees in life. I totally get that. But this was like a serious issue for me personally. So I was thinking about all of the treatments that they were recommending for me, with the exception of surgery. Every single one of them is known to cause cancer in some way, shape, or form. It's pretty well documented that chemotherapy causes cancer. Everybody knows that radiation causes cancer. I mean, when you go to the dentist, something so simple as to get an x-ray on your tooth, they load you up with that big heavy metal vest, and the technician runs out of the door before they take a 2-second picture of your mouth, so you know that's toxic. And what I knew was that tamoxifen is known to cause uterine cancer. And it's also known, there's research now that says that people who take tamoxifen for an early stage cancer like I had are at a really great risk for developing triple negative breast cancer in the future, which is the most aggressive type of cancer. And so as I was weighing all these options, I'm thinking to myself, 5 years? There's no way I'm not going to have a recurrence in 5 years if I bombard my body with all of these toxic things. I mean, it just didn't make sense to me. So we decided to go home. My husband and I are Christians. We went home. We decided I needed to pray because I just needed wisdom, guidance, some kind of direction, anything, because I was panicking inside. And so I went home, and I was scheduled to get an appointment for a second opinion at another facility, which is in my area considered to be, numero uno as far as cancer hospitals and treatment centers in the country. And I couldn't get in right away because I had to wait. But that actually turned out to be a blessing because in this time period, I was continuing to pray, and I really felt led to do a lot of research. And I just started researching, and I was blown away by what I had found because I learned that, number one, everybody has cancers going on in their body all the time because it's the thing that actually causes cancer is when your cells, there's the cell in your body, and then outside of the cell is something called the mitochondria, and that's the battery source. That's the power of the cell. And normally our cells run on oxygen. But things can happen over time, we could get exposure to toxic things in the environment. Our personal lifestyle and dietary habits can affect it. Water, what's in the water source that you're drinking. There's a lot of different, exposure to medications, if you happen to be a person who takes medications. A combination of all of these things can come together, and then what ends up happening is it damages that mitochondria, so it can't process oxygen anymore. So in order for the cell will either die, or sometimes it's resilient and it doesn't want to die, and it's smart, so it shifts its energy source to sugar. So it wants sugar instead, and then it will start rapidly eating any kind of glucose that's in our system, and it starts proliferating and spreading and duplicating and becoming tumors. Okay, so that's just an overview, basically. And so anyway, I started learning that, this process is going on in the body all the time with everyone because, the cells get to a point, sometimes they die, sometimes they don't, sometimes you're exposed to these things, and then sometimes things start to happen. The difference between a person who develops cancer and one who doesn't is really the power of their immune system, because the immune system can actually root out those offending cells if it's strong and just eradicate it before it ever becomes a problem. And the other thing I learned was that cancer can be growing inside of a person's body for 10 years before you could even detect it. 10 years of your life could be going by and everything seems fine and something's going on beneath the surface. And so I started thinking about the 10-year side of the development of cancer versus the 5-year prognosis of maybe not having another recurrence of cancer that the doctor gave me. And I started thinking 10 years, 5 years, kind of like a 50-50 crapshoot kind of deal. And then I started thinking, if I was only going to live 5 years, I did not want to be sick for 5 years because I didn't feel bad. I didn't want to be sick. I didn't want my son to see me wither away and suffer and deteriorate before his eyes. And I thought, if I'm going to only live 5 years, I just don't want to spend it sick with my head in the toilet. That was it for me. And so through my research, and I found out that how do you have a strong immune system? You have to support it. And that's the bottom line. So I found out that my whole way of living, the whole way of eating, everything was contributing to this perfect storm for cancer to develop in my body. I was a junk food loving, caffeine addict, workaholic, stressed out girl. And I didn't even know that. I mean, I would work. I had my own business. I had my husband. I had my son. I had a lot of stress in my life, and I didn't really. Well, I apparently wasn't managing it well, and I didn't know that. My choice of managing it was, comfort food, hanging out, just sitting on the couch, not moving my body because I had no energy to move, eating a lot of sweet things and drinking lots of alcohol and stuff like that. Just things that kind of masked feeling like the total exhaustion that I was living in. Had I known, though, that all of those things were contributing to create a perfect storm in my body, maybe I could have done something different about it. So anyway, as I started thinking about all of this, I found out also about alternative therapies that are out there that are all natural and herbal. And I ended up meeting a woman who actually had been diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer 20 years before me. And she was still alive, and she's still alive. I shouldn't say was, she is still alive. And, she started telling me about the things that she did, and it just blew my mind because I don't know about you, but as I told you about my dad had passed away, but I know a lot of people who have been diagnosed with cancer over the years, friends, relatives, acquaintances, and I don't know one person who lived 20 years after a diagnosis. Maybe you did, maybe some of your listeners did, but I did not. So I thought that was just incredible. And she encouraged me after she explained, the things that she did, and she encouraged me. And then she said, if you're even contemplating trying to do something that's natural, I want to encourage you with the fact that you do have more time. Because when someone's diagnosed, it's like a rapid thing. It's like they tell you have the diagnosis, they want you in surgery the following day, the next day they want you to start chemo, the day after that they want you to start radiation. They want you in there, and there's no time to even process the fact that somebody told you that you're facing this crazy disease, right? And so she said to me, you actually have time. And that actually backed up with the stuff that I found out about the whole 10-year time span. And she said, and here's the thing, if you try it and it doesn't work, you could always go back and sign up for surgery and radiation and chemo. They will never turn you away. And I thought, that's true. Not that I really wanted to do any of those things, but I thought, as my plan B, if this doesn't work, I certainly have that as my backup. So anyway, I decided it just made so much more sense to me to strengthen my immune system, nourish my body so it could actually heal from this disease rather than to bombard it with all this toxicity, hoping that maybe I would get well. And I had so much peace about the decision to even do that. That's all I can, the idea of doing all of the other treatments was terrifying. the experience in the doctor's office was the most frightening thing I had ever experienced. And then when I looked at everything that I had learned, it made so much sense to me that it was like freeing. It was totally freeing. And so I just decided, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to do this and I'm going to see. I'll see what happens. And then if it doesn't work, then I have my plan B, right? Mm-hmm. So I went all in. I decided first thing I needed to do was get the toxicity out of my body. So I detoxed with whole foods cleansing. I changed the way I ate. I went from being that, girl who runs through the drive-through to being a person who ate fruits, vegetables, and I did actually almost like kind of a vegetarian thing for the first 30 days. And actually the first 30 days I did a lot of juicing. I didn't really eat solids because I was really trying to detoxify and reset my immune system so that it would work optimally. I also I used an alternative therapy, which was an herbal tonic with a series of herbs that are known to be very powerful against cancer cells. I changed everything about the way I managed my stress levels. I prioritized things. I started moving my body, which is something that I had not done really very much in years other than, going back and forth to the car kind of deal, or walking around the mall. That was probably the extent of my exercise back then. I made all of these conscious changes. And after 6 months, I was retested and they couldn't find the cancer anymore. They just couldn't find it. And so they gave me what's called NED, which is no evidence of disease, which is basically what they tell you when you're quote unquote in remission, but it basically says that cancer is gone. And so that experience happened 6 years ago. As of January, I'm going on 6 years cancer-free. And you know what's so cool is through the whole process of doing all these changes, I could feel my body responding. I felt better. My energy came back. And incidentally, when I was diagnosed, I had just started going through menopause, and I was one of those lucky women out there who starts menopause and starts packing on the pounds and you can't get them off. And that was me. And things that I used to do previously, like starve myself, do a fad diet, none of that stuff worked. So after I changed my whole diet through this whole process, that first 30 days, I lost 30 pounds and it just came off all by itself. It wasn't like my goal, but it was a happy side effect. I looked better than I had in a really long time. I felt amazing. And, people started to notice, and I was a little bit of a coward. I didn't tell everybody what I was going through because I figured everyone would think I was out of my mind, So I only really told my husband and a couple of very close people to me, and I didn't tell anybody else. But then as all this weight started coming off, I got this glow came back to my skin, my confidence in the way I felt, just my health in general, the confidence and the hope that I had that something good was going on. People could see it and they started asking me. And so I remember thinking through this whole time, why didn't anybody ever tell me any of this before? I really feel like if I had known that this was a thing, I could have done so many things differently, and I could have probably avoided cancer in the first place. And so that's the reason why I do what I do now, because I really, really hope to help people just to see what the possibilities are. I mean, especially coming from a woman who, was going through menopause, that means you're getting toward the tail end, so to speak, that these types of age-related illnesses are not inevitable, whether it's cancer, whether it's heart disease, whether it's diabetes. These things are not inevitable, because I think you go through your life, and I know this was true for me before cancer, when I told you in that period where I was just kind of lazy laying around after I would work a million hours, I had other issues going on in my life. I had a lot of weird symptoms that would come and go. I had digestive issues. I had, sorry if this is too much information, but I had
no, so much.
I had recurring urinary tract infections. I would get rashes. I had crazy allergies. I would be sick a lot, and I was on a constant cycle where I'd go back and forth to the doctor. And they would like, yeah, I don't know. And then they would give me an antibiotic and they would send me home. And so my whole existence started being like, well, there's medications for this. I guess just everybody feels like this because why would there be so many meds out there for people, whether it's the ones your doctor prescribes or the ones you get over the counter when you go to the pharmacy. And so I think you just, or in my case, you just start to get this weird kind of acceptance that feeling like crap all the time is normal. But it's not. It doesn't have to be. And I'm really hoping that, like right now I'm helping people who actually have been diagnosed, to help them, people who are interested in, looking into some alternatives. I help them to modify their diet and, take some proactive action as far as what they're doing is concerned. And some people who are actually going through traditional therapies like chemo and radiation, and I help them to sort of bolster some of their immune system so that they're not so depleted all the time.
Mhm.
But, I think it would be awesome if I could get this message out to some people so that way they don't have to get, that's my message. You don't have to get a cancer diagnosis. You don't have to get any kind of diagnosis before maybe making a choice that's going to make you feel amazing. And that's my story.
Oh my God. It feels like gold. I'm going to give you something. I'm an amplifier. So what I do is I help women to find their story, tell their story, and grow their business online. And I'm going to give you 1 hour of my time for us to see your business and give you my popcorn ideas. It comes all out of my head about how can we make your business even reaching more people. Because it's not the first time that I have this conversation. And I found that we need to do something about it. This needs to come out. I use tapping, for example, for helping my people through the business and to the life. And EFT and tapping is super powerful. It's like acupuncture without needles.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so many different things that can be done instead of the normal ones. In the same way, it's really interesting to think about milk, for example. I don't know if you took milk away from a diet, but we grow thinking I did grow thinking that I'm so proud because I drink 1 liter of milk. Never asking myself, I don't drink milk anymore. Never asking myself, why should I drink milk? Because my parents, my grandma used to bring me a milk with chocolate and I love it. And it was my emotional thing. So today, if we think about milk and we think about the baby cows and we think about, let's forget the abuse, let's focus on the animal. What are you ingesting? What are you eating?
So true, so true. Whatever they eat, you eat. So
Yeah.
like if you're gonna do dairy and you're getting your you're getting your conventionally grown dairy where unfortunately they feed the cattle lots of hormones. I mean, you're getting all of those hormones. They give them antibiotics, they give them hormones, they feed them kind of in not the best way.
It's insane. I don't eat meat for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not because anything. It was because I had the moment and I just eat a steak. And I used to love steak.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so heavy on my stomach. And in that moment, I saw a video, not like a normal vegan video, but a video inspiring you to dish meat for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it. And it changed my life. It changed my life, my skin, my face, my everything.
Yeah.
And I start asking myself, so how many things are we doing? How many times we are convinced and we need to take this or that, or I cannot imagine what is to go through chemo, because I deeply believe then you have other things to do. When you talk about praying, I love that. In a short version, can you tell me the importance of praying? And I understand that you pray to God, but I want to probably say to other people who are listening to us, then faith, whatever God you have, is always the same, right?
It's very important to, or for me personally, I'll just put it for me personally, it was a game changer to know that there's something greater than myself, and, I read the Bible a lot, and I really, I try to live my life by the Word of God, and holding on to promises that he has in the Bible for me personally. Like one of them was that, because we have a covenant that healing is mine, that he'll never leave me or forsake me, and then I would always stand on scriptures. And one of my favorites was that, I will live and not die, that I will declare the works of the Lord. I know that probably sounds goofy to a lot of people, but it's so important to tap into the power. For me, it was so important to tap into the power of God, especially because going through this process, like right now I share the story with you and I probably sound, so incredibly strong and confident. But
I believe it was tough.
when I went through it, I wasn't confident every day. Some days I was scared. Some days I was like, holy mackerel, am I making the worst mistake of my life? Oh my gosh, am I fooling around, and is this thing like growing and taking over my body while I'm, you know what I mean? All of these things. But those were moments where I really had to lean into the fact that, as I told you, I really believe that God led me on this path to discover all this stuff that I had absolutely no idea existed. And that the Bible says that his wisdom travels on a pathway of peace. And I thought, what is the thing that makes me feel peaceful? This was the thing that made me feel peaceful. And I believe that, that was his guidance for me personally. And that's what I leaned on. So, and not only that, but there's all of this scientific research out there that talks about, physiological benefits of prayer and meditation.
Oh, yes.
Like controlling your body's stress response through prayer and meditation. It's been documented that you move away from that sympathetic stress response to a
yeah, the vibration, the lower vibration.
Yeah.
When we are stressed and with anxiety, and I struggle with mental health, so when we are stressed and with anxiety, we are vibrating so low, then it's nothing positive, then we can manifest, right? I think I have a quote and I think it fits you very well. You took ownership of the results before you had any clue how to get the result.
Gosh, yeah.
You decided.
Oh, yeah. That's huge. That's huge because you have to, again, this is what the Bible says, it says, you have to believe, you have to use faith and believe things. It says, call things that are not as though they were. So basically, put your faith toward the thing that you're believing for. And you can't let yourself waver. Granted, there are moments where you feel like you're going to waver, but if you waver and you go back and forth, you're not going to get anywhere. So you have to keep that focus on, like for me personally, I was keeping the focus on the promises that I had found that were, I felt were supportive of what I was going through. I kept my focus on believing that, if this was something that was unveiled to me and that this was the pathway of peace for me, I had to believe that that was the direction I was going to keep on going in. You have to believe. Belief is huge. It's huge.
Yeah. It's the first step. Can you share with us and then share with me through the message? We are connected on Facebook, right?
I think so.
I want you to share your links. Tell where people can find you.
Sure. Well, you can find me on Instagram at good_nature_wellness. I'm on Facebook at Good Nature Wellness. You can catch me on my website, which is www.goodnaturewellness.com. And you can also catch my podcast where I talk about a lot of things like, natural healing, wellness. I talk about cancer and I talk about other things too, just all kinds of things that women can use to regain control of their health and improve the way they look and feel every day. And that's the Good Nature Wellness Podcast. You can catch it. I Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere they stream, so that you can find me there. And if you guys want to email me, I'm actually just finishing up a new resource, which is called 5 Things I Wish I Had Known Before Being Diagnosed with Breast Cancer. And so if you guys are interested in that, email me at Barbara@goodnaturewellness.com, and I'll send it to you.
Perfect. Oh, Barbara, I could be talking with you for hours. You know, I have a huge respect. I have so many people dying in my life, and I have a huge respect for the decision. Then that was not going to be your fate.
Thank you.
And not everyone have that ability to decide.
It's tough. But you know what? That's something that I do as a health coach. Like my clients tell me that you need that support. You need somebody who's walked that road, just to walk alongside you, And I think that
take the hand, right? Take you by the hand.
Yeah, and that's everything. I wish I had that. When I was going through it, I was on my own, And I really wish that I would have had someone that I could have asked, "Hey, does this sound like it's out in left field? Does this seem like it's going to work?" And I really believe that through what I'm doing, that I could make a difference in somebody's life, and that's everything to me.
I'm 100% sure you can make the difference. I can feel your vibration. My love, I'm going to say bye to people on YouTube, and then I'm going to say bye to you properly. Hi guys, thank you so much for listening to this. Each time I bring a different guest is always very inspired. I'm very lucky. I'm attracting amazing people. And thank you so much, Barbara, for everything. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I will be here soon again. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.